Although this box says tomatoes, we're ready to make cucumbers. I do a mix of two different varieties. I do bread and butter pickles, but there's an American version and a British version, and I like to mix the two. It just makes it the perfect blend to me. And someone has told me that they're just like her grandmother's pickles. So thank you for that, Amy. And I hope you all enjoy. This bowl is 10 cups, and that's what we need to chop up. I have this many in here, and hopefully when we chop them up, we can put them in here and fill it up. But also, these have little tiny hairs that we have to make sure we wash off, so that's why they're soaking in the cold water so that they don't start getting soft. And I have a mandala here and a knife, and I'm ready to go. So we have a few of their ends cut off. You just need a very little amount, and the pigs are gonna love these later, so that's great. And then we take this and we'll just slice it across the top here, and it'll give us nice clean cuts. And now we have a bowl full of deliciousness and a bit for the pigs. I'm actually using this book, but for the traditional bread and butter pickles, they have varieties at the bottom, variations. And what I do is I do half apple cider vinegar and half of the white vinegar, and then half of the granulated sugar and half of the brown sugar. It goes along well. I don't do the ginger, but I do the turmeric. And it ends up with a very well-balanced flavor. So that is the bowl of the cucumbers. That's normally the biggest size in the Pyrex collection, but we were blessed with this gargantuan thing for our wedding, and it has been quite a blessing. So we're going to mix all of these cucumbers, plus we're going to slice on the mandolin. We're going to slice 3 of these. It calls for 4 medium onions. These are fairly large, so we're going to do 3. And half a cup of pickling salt, and then top it off with cold water. Okay, so I put these all in. There are onions in here and cucumbers, and we're just going to cover this whole thing with cool water, and then it sits in the fridge for about 2 hours. So I have prepared this pot, and this one will be the one that I do the vinegar and all the seasoning and everything that I eventually dump the prepared cucumbers into. And then I've also started a big stock pan. So this will have to be at a rolling boil. So I'm starting it now. That is too small for it, but it's what I have. And I'll just wrap around a towel around the outside of it. And as I put in the jars, the level will rise, but you do need it to completely cover. So I may have to add a little bit more. Okay, so I actually use this nice big, it's actually a grill cover, but it works just fine for what we're doing. And I'm rinsing all the salt off because you really don't want salty pretzels. And the brine in there is just enough, so I don't even add any more to the recipe itself. That looks pretty good. We'll use these in just a minute. And then during the 2 hours, I cut a bunch of these into spears, and I'm also going to do bread and butter spears. So these are prepped, and now that big bowl is ready to hold these with, onions. For now, I'll just set this next to it, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so here we have 1.5 cups of apple cider vinegar, 1.5 cups of white distilled vinegar, 1 cup of sugar, whoops, and just 1/2 cup of the brown sugar. And then we'll need some mustard seed, celery seed, turmeric, and I decided to try it with the ground ginger. So we need 2 tablespoons of the mustard seeds. 1 teaspoon of each of these, but I'll probably just do a half teaspoon of the ginger. And the ginger here. Then once I've added everything here, I go ahead and fill my jars with hot water. I turned off the stove so that it can just heat up without boiling them, because that's not necessary. So I'll do this. When I'm ready, I'll pull out the hot jars. That's very important so they don't break. And then we'll fill them with the hot liquid. So we've got this on high. We've got to stir it to dissolve that sugar. And once all the sugar is dissolved, we'll add the cucumbers. This was another wedding present. We'll just stir that to dissolve the sugar. It's going pretty well. As soon as it starts boiling, I'll add the cucumbers. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up the counter. Now I just kind of moved everything to the side, gave myself a nice counter piece here, so that once this is done, I can reuse these elements for the pickle spears. And we're in business. Let's get those cucumbers. Okay, now we'll stir it in, try to evenly distribute things. Once that returns to a boil, we're ready to can. So once I've stirred this thoroughly, I'm going to take these out and put them on a towel. That's about as covered as it's going to get. So I'm going to get my tools and bring some jars out. Very careful, they are hot, so I like to use this from the get-go. That one's ready. We'll just set it right here. Perfect. 6 more to go. 6 jars ready to go. And this is still not quite yet boiling. We're gonna turn on this water to get it to a rolling boil for canning. And then while I'm waiting for this, I'll get the funnel and the other things I'll need. All right, I would say we're ready. Now, if I can do this well enough, I won't have to change out the towel, because I do not want to put the pickle jars that are canned on a wet, dirty towel, because then they'll be wet and dirty when I put it in the pantry. I mean, I guess I could wipe it off, right? All right, these are filled, and the water is at a rolling boil, so we can put the lids on and then take care of it. Gotta wash that one. So there they are, completely covered in rolling boiling water. So we'll set the timer for 10 minutes. And then while that's doing its thing, I'm going to be chopping up onion and prepping the next batch. Well, one onion done and the tears are streaming, so off to do the timer, right? Good timing. 6 out and 1 already popped. I just love that sound.